Welcome to Purposive Communication. This lesson is prepared and created by Ms. Raymond Zaira M. Fernandez, a faculty of the Department of Languages and Literature, College of Arts and Sciences, Central Mindanao University. We are now at Unit 5. In this unit, we will talk about communication for research purposes. With the previous discussions, we talked about the etiquettes of writing. In this video, we will learn about the following concepts: text message, email, letter of request, and informed consent form. Are you ready? Netiquette. Text messaging, emailing, and posting on social media in a professional context requires that you be familiar with netiquette, or proper etiquette for using the internet. The way that you represent yourself in writing carries significant weight. Writing in an online environment requires tact, skill, and an awareness that what you write may be there for a very long time and may be seen by people you never considered as your intended audience. Text message. Text messages and emails are part of our communication landscape, and skilled business communicators consider them a valuable tool to connect. Netiquette refers to etiquette, or protocols and norms for communication, on the internet. Whatever digital device you use, written communication in the form of brief messages, or texting, has become a common way to connect. It is useful for short exchanges, and is a convenient way to stay connected with others when talking on the phone would be cumbersome. Texting is not useful for long or complicated messages, and careful consideration should be given to the audience. When texting, always consider your audience and your company, and choose words, terms, or abbreviations that will deliver your message appropriately and effectively. This time, we will talk about guidelines for effective business texting. Number 1. Know your recipient. Two, anticipate unintentional misinterpretation. Texting often uses symbols and codes to represent thoughts, ideas, and emotions. Given the complexity of communication, and the useful but limited tool of texting, be aware of its limitation and prevent misinterpretation with brief messages. Use appropriately. Contacting someone too frequently can border on harassment. Texting is a tool. Use it when appropriate but don't abuse it. 4. Don't text and drive. Research shows that the likelihood of an accident increases dramatically if the driver is texting behind the wheel. We now proceed to email. Email is familiar to most students and workers. In business, it has largely replaced print hard copy letters for external, outside the company, correspondence, and in many cases, it has taken the place of memos for internal, within the company, communication. Email can be very useful for messages that have slightly more content than a text message, but it is still best used for fairly brief messages. Many businesses use automated emails to acknowledge communications from the public, or to remind associates that periodic reports or payments are due. Emails may be informal in personal contexts, but business communication requires attention to detail, awareness that your email reflects you and your company, and a professional tone so that it may be forwarded to any third party if needed. Email often serves to exchange information within organizations. As with all writing, professional communications require attention to the specific writing context, and it may surprise you that even elements of form can indicate a writer's strong understanding of audience and purpose. We now have guidelines for effective business emails. Open with a proper salutation. Proper salutations demonstrate respect and avoid mix-ups in case a message is accidentally sent to the wrong recipient. 2. Include a clear, brief, and specific subject line. This helps the recipient understand the essence of the message. 3. Close with a signature. Identify yourself by creating a signature block that automatically contains your name and business contact information. Avoid abbreviations. Be brief. Use a good format. Divide your message into brief paragraphs for ease of reading. A good email should get to the point and conclude in 3 small paragraphs or less. 7. Reread, revise, and review. Catch and correct spelling and grammar mistakes before you press send. It will take more time and effort to undo the problems caused by a hasty, poorly written email than to take the time to get it right the first time. 8. Reply promptly. Watch out for an emotional response. Never reply in anger, but make a habit of replying to all emails within 24 hours, even if only to say that you will provide the requested information in 48 or 72 hours. Use reply all sparingly. Do not send your reply to everyone who received the initial email unless your message absolutely needs to be read by the entire group. 10. Avoid using all caps. Capital letters are used on the internet to communicate emphatic emotion or yelling and are considered rude. Email ahead of time if you are going to attach large files. Audio and visual files are often quite large. Be careful to avoid exceeding the recipient's mailbox limit or triggering the spam filter. Give feedback or follow up. If you don't get a response in 24 hours, email or call. Spam filters may have intercepted your message, so your recipient may never have received it. Here is an additional tip in writing business emails. Add the address of the recipient last to avoid sending prematurely. This will give you time to do a last review of what you've written, make sure links work, make sure you've added the attachment, etc., before adding the sender's address and hitting send. Take a look at this sample email which demonstrates the principles mentioned. This time we will have the letter of request. Letters are brief messages sent to recipients that are often outside the organization. They are often printed on letterhead paper that represents the business or organization, and are generally limited to 1 or 2 pages. It can serve to introduce you to a potential employer, announce a product or service, or even serve to communicate feelings and emotions, compliant letters, for example. There are many types of letters, and many adaptations in terms of form and content. Letters may serve to introduce your skills and qualifications to prospective employers, cover letter, deliver important or specific information, provide documentation of an event or decision, or introduce an attached report or long document, letter of transmittal. Take a look at this sample of a letter of transmittal meant to introduce a technical report to its recipient. Strategies for effective letters. A typical letter has 7 main parts. Letterhead/logo, sender's name and return address. The heading, names of the recipient, often including address and date. Salutation such as dear _ use the recipient's name, if known. The introduction which establishes the overall purpose of the letter. The body which articulates the details of the message. The conclusion which restates the main point and may include a call to action. The signature line which sometimes includes the contact information. Keep in mind that letters represent you and your company in your absence. In order to communicate effectively and project a positive image, remember that Your language should be clear, concise, specific, and respectful. Each word should contribute to your purpose. Each paragraph should focus on one idea. The parts of the letter should form a complete message. The letter should be free of errors. Letters with specific purposes. There are many possible reasons you might write a letter in a professional context. Here is a list of the most common kinds of letters. Transmittal letters. When you send a report or some other document, such as a resume, to an external audience, send it with a cover letter that briefly explains the purpose of the enclosed document and a brief summary. 2. Letters of inquiry. This is if you want to request information about a company or organization, such as whether they anticipate job openings in the near future or whether they fund grant proposals from nonprofit groups. In this case, you would send a letter of inquiry, asking for additional information. As with most business letters, keep your request brief, introducing yourself in the opening paragraph and then clearly stating your purpose and/or request in the second paragraph. If you need very specific information, consider placing your requests in list form for clarity. Conclude in a friendly way that shows appreciation for the help you will receive. We also have follow-up letters. Anytime you have made a request of someone, write a follow-up letter expressing your appreciation for the time your letter recipient has taken to respond to your needs or consider your job application. If you have had a job interview, the follow-up letter thanking the interviewer for his/her time is especially important for demonstrating your professionalism and attention to detail. Letters within the professional context may take on many other purposes, such as communicating with suppliers, contractors, partner organizations, clients, government agencies, and so on. Informed consent process. Informed consent is an important step in ensuring that research participants are treated ethically. Informed consent is the process of telling potential research participants about the key elements of a research study and what their participation will involve. The informed consent process is one of the central components of the ethical conduct of research with human subjects. The consent process typically includes providing a written consent document containing the required information and the presentation of that information to prospective participants. An informed consent document is typically used to provide subjects with the information they need to make a decision to volunteer for a research study. Participants must have enough information to make an informed decision whether to participate in the research study. If participants cannot give informed consent, it must be obtained from their legal representatives. For example, when subjects are minors, under 18, or when they are mentally incapacitated, consent from a legal representative, such as a parent or legal guardian, is required. You should additionally provide a verbal explanation/description of the consent process, according to a script, when giving each participant the consent documents. Consent documents and scripts must be clearly written in plain English so participants can fully understand the implications of participating. Scientific, medical, and technical terms should be avoided if possible or, if they must be included, clearly defined in simple language. The following are general information and tips for preparing a consent document. Reading level. Informed consent documents should be written in plain language at a level appropriate to the subject population, generally at an 8th grade reading level. Always tailor the document to the subject population. Avoid technical jargon or overly complex terms. Use straightforward language that is understandable. Next we have writing tips. In writing the consent form, use the second or third person to present the study details. Avoid use of the first person, I. Include a statement of agreement at the conclusion of the informed consent document. In this unit, we discussed about different lessons, specifically, netiquette, text messages, email, letter of request and informed consent forms. What have you learned? That is end of Unit 5, Lesson 3 to 6. Thank you for watching.